Many of us have commented on our electricity costs going up over the last couple of years, and we've been looking at ways to lower our monthly costs. So, in this video, we're going to discuss some of the reasons that the electricity has gone up and some of the things we can do about it in winter and summer. I hope you'll stick around. Hi, I'm Bonita and I am early retired. I'm not old enough yet for Social Security. I'm living on a low income and I am living off of savings. I live in Kansas on a farm and I have a donkey. This is Brownie. I have frugal videos all year round, and I hope that you will join me this year as we share ways to save money and live our dreams. When electrical lines were stretched across from farm to farm less than a century ago, I don't think that the electric companies could foresee how many products we have that can be plugged in houses and garages in 2025. Reading here from my grandmother's diary, her electricity got hooked to the Highline pole on December 31st, 1947, and that farm was about 2 miles from where I live today. And then on January 19th, 1948, my grandpa worked on the washing machine and got an electric motor hooked to it for the first time. So, most people back in those days may have had a few light bulbs, they may have had a refrigerator, but as you can see, people started adding equipment that had never been on electricity before. And now we have so many things. We have toaster ovens, we have fry daddies, we have rice cookers, we have coffee pots. I mean, the list goes on and on and on of all the electrical gadgets that we have and use. Many people have a second refrigerator in their garage or a second freezer. A lot of people have mini fridges in their office or in their den. So a lot of these products are even duplicated in homes, which adds to the power grid. The demand for electricity has increased 2.5% in 2024, and it's expected to grow another 3.2% in 2025. I get so much information from my electrical company's website, and they also send us a monthly magazine. And I've shared with you before, if you set up an account on your company's website, many times you can see actual usage in graphs. It will break it down by what types of equipment you have plugged in at all times, and it can help you manage and see where your electricity costs are going. So you can look at that and say, this is plugged in all the time and it's refrigeration. How much stuff do I have plugged in for refrigeration? It can be broken down into entertainment. What do I have plugged in all the time that's for entertainment? And you can start assessing your house and seeing if some of those things don't need to be plugged in all the time. They pull power all the time because they are ready to be used at any moment when you flip that switch. So many of them are pulling power, even if you don't have them turned on right that second. So across the US, a lot of people are using more electricity in their homes to work from home. A lot of businesses are using more electricity than they did in the past. And throughout 2029, the electrical grid is expected to increase another 38 gigawatts. Now, that doesn't mean anything to me. Maybe you understand electricity more than I do, but what I get from that is their costs are going up and they're going to pass them on to us. Now, I've never had a fireplace, and I know a lot of people use wood burning stoves. And they actually said in the newsletter from my electrical company that fireplaces sometimes escape a lot of heat. You think that they will help with heat, but sometimes it is even too cold to run the fireplace. And that is because heat rises and the smoke goes out the chimney with a lot of heat with it. Our electric company also pointed out that if you have a fireplace, it's important to open the damper when you're using it and close it once everything has cooled off and the ashes are cool. But if you forget to close that damper, they say it's like leaving a window open in the winter. Now we have a propane stove, but in the summer, we even shut off the pilot light and shut that thing completely down because it will pull gas throughout the summer. And you'd be surprised how much that little pilot light, how much heat that it puts off. Sometimes when it's like 90 degrees, you can really feel that little pilot light putting off the heat, and you don't want it on. So, shutting down things when it becomes warmer is really important to lower your costs. Another thing that changed in my grandmother's day is water was pumped by hand. That required no electricity. Now, I have a water well and I don't have a water bill because I have my own well, but it takes electricity to pump the water. So, when my electricity goes off, I don't have any water. Because I have an old home built in the early 1900s without a basement, without a foundation, and without central heat and air, we only heat the room that we're in, and that is the living room. That's the only room that we have a heater in. We have the cook stove in the kitchen, and sometimes it will get so cold that we even turn on the cook stove. We have a little electric heater in our bedroom that we use sometimes, and we have one in our bathroom so that we can shower. Other than that, that is all of our only heating sources. And in the summer, we have a window unit in our bedroom and one in the living room. And they stay unplugged all winter long and all summer long unless we're going to use it. And then when we use it, we unplug it again because we use it very rarely and I don't want it pulling electricity. Our window unit in the living room is on a 220 plug. That's just like a dryer, and those units pull a lot of electricity. Now, I know many of you have central heat and air. That is very common these days. And our electric company suggests that you have it tuned up and checked and refrigerant charged every year, and preferably doing it before it gets hot in the summer when the demand is higher and their costs go up. And you might have to wait a while to get it going again. So, having that checked in the early spring is usually the best time to make sure that it's going to be fully operational for the summer. Our electric company suggests that you change the dirty filter yourself on a regular basis and that you buy those in bulk. They said buying them in packages of 12 can cut your cost in half than buying them in packages of two. Now, when we had a business, we did have central heat and air. And on a regular basis, my husband would go out with a water hose and spray down the unit. We had cotton that would fly and stick in there, dirt, leaves, all kinds of things. And if you didn't get to it on time, you could notice that your system was not keeping up. It was not blowing ice cold air. And maybe you were starting to feel a little warm. And most of the time, all it took was for him to go out with the garden hose and spray out that cotton and those extra dirt and leaves. And we were back blowing ice cold air. When your unit gets dirty like that, it's something simple, just grabbing that garden hose, but it will make your system work harder, which then pulls more electricity and makes your costs go up. Our electric company suggests that you keep your thermostat at about 78 when you're home and even higher when you're gone, and to use fans in the room that you're in to cool the person, not the room. So if you're not in the room, shut those fans off because they're not doing you any good. And if you have ceiling fans and you run them regularly, remember to change them based on the season. Counterclockwise for summer and clockwise for winter. That way, it either pushes your heat up or pushes your heat down. And then be sure and check with your electric company on when their peak hours are. Peak hours are when the demand on the system is higher and they will charge you more per kilowatt during those hours because of the demand of everybody using it. Our peak hours are 1 to 7 p.m. So I avoid those hours to do my laundry. And I don't have a dishwasher, but one of our viewers pointed this out that if you shut off your dishwasher before the drying cycle and you open the dishwasher and let them air dry, you will save a bunch of electricity because that heating element to dry those dishes pushes up your electrical costs. Now, if you're one of the lucky people that have a solar system, I would love to have that. But using it when you have the most sun is the best time to use your solar so it can replenish itself. So use your dishwasher, use your washing machine during the sunniest part of the day. As warm weather approaches, we use a lot of outdoor cooking types of things. We have a little table outside by an outdoor plug, and I use it for my turkey roaster to bake outside. I use it for my crock pot to cook outside, and we also use our grill. When I was in Texas for the last 3 months during the winter, living in my RV, and the days were 80 degrees, 90 degrees, you can bet I had a little tray table like back in the 60s that you would pop up in front of someone having a TV dinner, those old-fashioned metal ones. And I took it outside and I did my cooking out there with my electric skillet, with my turkey roaster, with my crock pot, and I kept from heating up my RV. It's the same idea when we're living at home. Once we heat up our house, we have to cool it back off. So if you are able to cook something outside that you would normally cook inside, it will make a big difference on keeping your home cooler. And then we cook a lot in the wintertime. I use the stovetop, I use the oven because it helps keep my house warm, and I'm also able to double duty it by making food at the same time. So when the kids were home, you can bet on the weekends I was cooking almost all day long just to keep the house warmer. In every video that I talk about electrical usage, I always like to stress that doing a full house assessment to see what you have plugged in is so important. Even though I was living in an RV for the past 3 months, I made sure that I didn't have anything plugged in the RV that didn't need to be at any given time. And I do the same thing at home. So when I came home, even though my husband had been here for 3 months by himself, I did a full house assessment. I found 2 chargers that were plugged in that didn't need to be because he is gone a lot of the time. But I found 6 items that I had plugged in the entire house that need to be plugged in and are plugged in right now. I have a crock pot on the back porch because I'm making something. I have my washing machine plugged in on the back porch. It's digital and it seems to mess it up if I unplug it, then I have to reprogram it. It's a whole thing. So it's not worth unplugging that. In the bathroom, there is nothing. In the living room, there is nothing because we have our Roku box, our TV, and our one bulb lamp all plugged into a power strip, and then we shut that off when we're not using it. So nothing is plugged in the living room. In this office, I have my Wi-Fi box plugged in. I charge my laptop and then use the battery, and I charge my phone and then I use the battery, and I use my portable battery from my car to charge my phone when I get it charged up just from driving around places and running errands. And that will charge my phone for a couple of days. Upstairs, we have our air mattress plugged into our bed and my husband's CPAP. Both of those are programmable and need to remain plugged in. In our back 2 bedrooms, nothing is plugged in. The doors are shut. We don't heat or cool them. We don't use those rooms. Sometimes I use it as a cellar when it gets cold, and I keep some of my produce back there. And in the kitchen, I have my fridge plugged in. We just have one fridge and we have one freezer. Oh, on the back porch, I have a freezer plugged in as well. So I have 7 things plugged in all together. And that's under my goal of 10. So that keeps our electric bill around $75, whether it is winter or summer. Our usage stays pretty much the same. We have a well shaded yard. I have blackout curtains, and I use those to my advantage. They're open right now because we have a sunny day. I will close them when it starts to cool off in the evenings, and we close them and leave them shut most of the time in the winter if there's not a sunny day. And then I also don't run my air in the house because just doing those things keeps my house at the right temperature most of the time in the summertime. So we rarely run the air conditioner. If we do, we run it when we're sleeping at night so we're comfortable. We have an upstairs bedroom that gets very warm during the day. Or we'll run it a little bit in the living room to cool it off in the evenings if it's too warm in there. But we don't run it generally during the day. So me being home more during the day since I retired hasn't affected our electricity at all. In fact, it's helped us bring it down because I can monitor better what our usage actually is. So those are a few of the tips that came directly from our electric company for these next couple of seasons. I hope that they were helpful. Let me know if you're doing anything as well to help keep your home warmer or cooler based on the season and to save money on your electricity usage. I hope to see you in the next video. Please give me a thumbs up and we'll talk soon.